The ideological shift between the Democratic and Republican parties was a gradual process that occurred over more than a century, driven by several key historical events and demographic changes. Here's an overview of how this transformation took place. Early foundations pre-Civil War. In the early 19th century, the Democratic Party, founded in 1828, was generally conservative and supported states' rights, limited federal government, and the institution of slavery. The Republican Party, formed in 1854, was considered more liberal, opposing the expansion of slavery and supporting economic modernization. Civil War and Reconstruction Era. Civil War marked a significant turning point. Republicans, under Abraham Lincoln, fought to preserve the Union and end slavery. After the war, Republicans pushed for civil rights for freed slaves through the Reconstruction Amendments. However, by the 1870s, many Republicans began to shift away from supporting black rights, focusing instead on the interests of Northern industrialists who had profited from the war. The Progressive Era and New Deal. Early 20th century saw the rise of progressivism in both parties. However, the Great Depression became a catalyst for major change. Democratic President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal policies expanded the role of the federal government in addressing economic and social issues, attracting support from labor unions, urban voters, and minorities. Civil rights movement and Southern strategy. The civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s further accelerated the ideological shift. In 1964, Democratic President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act. Republican candidate Barry Goldwater opposed the Civil Rights Act, arguing it expanded federal power too much. This led to a decisive switch, with many black voters, historically loyal to Republicans, moving to the Democratic Party. Conversely, many white Southern Democrats, resentful of federal intervention, began shifting to the Republican Party. Modern Arabia. The 1980s, the transformation was largely complete. The Republican Party had become solidly conservative, attracting white Southern voters and emphasizing limited government, traditional values, and strong national defense. The Democratic Party had become more liberal, focusing on civil rights, social welfare programs, and a more active federal government. Demographic and ideological shifts. Recent decades have seen further changes. The Democratic Party has become increasingly diverse, with growing support from non-white voters, college-educated individuals, and those with no religious affiliation. Liberal identification among Democrats has increased significantly, particularly among white and college-educated Democrats. Republicans have maintained a more conservative stance on issues like taxation, military spending, and health care. The ideological flip between Democrats and Republicans was a complex process driven by changing economic conditions, evolving views on civil rights and the role of government, and shifting demographics. This transformation reshaped the American political landscape, leading to the party alignments we see today.